Hello, my name is Laura Leffel, and I'm the social work trainee for the LEA program at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. And today I'll be talking about building a team while learning online. So forming an interdisciplinary team while we were completely doing virtual learning definitely had its challenges and made my whole LEA experience very unique. And so I just wanted to kind of think about what it was that I felt like worked or didn't work and what helped us build a team during this virtual learning experience, and ultimately just kind of share my experiences about being a LEA trainee and hear about other people's experiences and what worked for your team or what didn't work for your team. And so, like we've heard this word so much, flexibility was really so important. I have done pretty much all of my program over Zoom. So I did my interview over Zoom. I meet for didactic classes over Zoom. I've gotten to know my faculty and my trainees over Zoom. And so it's really all been virtual. And we kind of knew from the beginning it was going to be different because we had a pretty realistic view that in August, when it would start, things would still kind of be pretty stressful with COVID. And so we had to adapt. And so one of those was in clinic. We couldn't ever meet in the same conference room to kind of do a clinic meeting. So what we ended up doing was we each met in different patient exam rooms, and we were on Zoom. And so we would have our kind of clinic meeting over Zoom during clinic. And then if we felt like we needed more time for the patients that were coming, we would sometimes have a Zoom meeting the day before. And so this was a great way to utilize our technology. For example, in December, I actually got COVID, and so I wasn't able to come into clinic, but I was able to be brought into the patient's room on an iPad. And so I could still listen in and see what was going on with my patients, even though I couldn't be there physically. I think vulnerability was another really important aspect of building a team because we need trust. And so we need to feel comfortable asking questions or, talking to each other or talking about a patient or standing up for a patient. And so it's hard to do when you don't want to be vulnerable because you don't trust your team. And so one of those is that I never realized how much talking on Zoom really stressed me out or made me nervous. And so I really kind of had to work on that. So I would still want to participate in our didactics. Some things that helped me would just be before I started speaking, I would take a deep breath and really slow down my conversation. It was also helpful to turn off my self view so I couldn't be looking at myself while I was talking. And then also it really helped to look directly into the camera. So it was harder to kind of see what everybody's faces were doing when I was talking. So I wouldn't get so in my head about being vulnerable and asking questions or sharing some of my thoughts. It also helped to have didactics that were specifically aimed at us kind of sharing more about ourselves. One of my favorite is that from the local community, we had a comedy improv speaker come and he did some improv with us. We didn't write a stand-up comedy routine, but we were able to be more creative together. So we could kind of see each other's creative sides versus our more academic and professional sides. We also had different didactic classes where we were just able to share more about who we were as people. So we had a self-care workshop where we could talk about, what we did for self-care, but also different worries that we had that we need self-care for. And so I think that, really is vulnerable and it's hard to talk about, but it also makes us realize that we're really so similar in so many ways. Another great thing with vulnerability and kind of building that trust was doing assessments together. So we did, some of the ones we did were change style indicator, the PACE palette, the DISC assessment, emotional intelligence. And so that was really interesting. For example, the change style, I learned that I'm pretty rigid and fixed and I don't like change a whole lot. But one of our other trainees, Ashley, she loved change. She loved the big ideas. And so it was really helpful to know that about each other working in a professional setting, but it was also just interesting to get to know each other more on a personal setting. And some other ones that I think that would have been fun to do is the Enneagram and the Myers-Briggs. I think those are both great personality ones that a lot of people kind of know. we can definitely learn more about. And so thinking about being vulnerable, I think that kind of helps us build community. So we want to get past our professional selves to build that community. I think it was really helpful to feel like we had a LEA community when we were so isolated from so many of our other communities at this time. So something I loved that we did is we kind of kept doing icebreakers. So we didn't stop getting to know each other after that very first time meeting each other. We would keep doing it every so often, just so we could continue to have some time where we're just sharing more about our personal selves. Some ones we loved was, just talking about our favorite TV shows or going through and talking about everything that we ate in a day. Another thing I think that helped bring our community together was we had trainee only sessions. So we would have a didactic class where we would just be the trainees. And I think sometimes that felt like a little bit less pressure than having all of our faculty watching us. And so I really I think felt a little bit more comfortable sharing sometimes. And then ultimately, clinic created such a need for us to be a team. That's something that I think was great about LEA is that really that first clinic, the faculty was like, we're here if you have questions, but like go and do. It is y'all's clinic and it's for y'all to run and for y'all to kind of get into the groove of. And I think that really helped us, get close to each other, and it helped us work together really well. So for communication, we would use email, we would use Zoom, and then they introduced Canvas this year, which is just the website that UAB uses for online learning. And it was really helpful. So Canvas was filled with our syllabus. It has any handouts that we need. And it wasn't something they had used previously. And I really hope they'll continue to use it even when they're back in person, because it's so helpful and we have access to it all the time and there's not any papers to keep track of. And so I really liked using Canvas. We did use a trainee only GroupMe. I know that there's professors or faculty that aren't fans of GroupMe, and I understand, if there's a question, you want to be going to the source, not to each other. But we really we use it for our project that we work on together. We use it to say, hey, we're running late. And then we also just use it to congratulate each other on professional achievements. I think what's really important with GroupMe is just to make sure as a group, you've curated a standard about what it's going to be used for. And so that if that's really clear and everybody agrees, I do think GroupMe can be an extra kind of helpful tool. So, it was a different time. So not everything was perfect. I think for me, something I really lacked was kind of a familiarity with the other faculty beyond my discipline. So I was very close with my social work faculty, but I just didn't have as much time to spend and kind of miss some of that familiarity with some of the other discipline faculties. Maybe I would have gotten that more if we were in person, or maybe that is just the nature of LEA. I don't want to compare things when I haven't ever done it during maybe a more typical year. Some things that we never tried is that we didn't really try to ever plan anything outside of our specific LEA time. So we didn't do happy hours or, kind of play games on Zoom. And I don't think that is what worked for our team. We were pretty tired after Zooming for 4 hours. And I don't think any of us really wanted to kind of spend more time on that, which is unfortunate. And so I would be interested to hear if kind of those extra activities worked for other programs. So thank you so much for letting me share about my experiences with LEA. Overall, I'm so grateful that I had a chance to be a part of this, virtual or not. And I think that it has taught me a lot about, being a member of an interdisciplinary team, but also being a member during such a unique time. Thank you.